Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Ears Up in Depth. We are back in the studio. We're here to talk about Disney news and a bunch of other stuff, too, I guess. I don't know. We have some good news. We have some sad news. We have some new news. And more importantly, we have Jeremy with me. Jeremy, what's going on, man? Good to see you again, buddy.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here on this Monday evening when it wasn't really that hot out today, and I feel good about that. It's always like a relief, like we've accomplished something.
Was it really high? Has it been really hot in California?
Yeah, we've had a couple of little mini heat waves these days, and like over 100 degrees, like 105, 108. You're like, oh my.
Oh, that is hot.
It's bad. It's not like Phoenix or whatever, Arizona, where I've read Phoenix or El Paso. No. Yeah, I forget now. I think Phoenix had seen over like 20 days of over 100 degree heat.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. That's not me. That's not me. That's not my life. I know nothing about that life and I don't want it. That's too much for me. I can't deal with it. Anyway, Jeremy, aside from our sort of usual banter about who goes first and blah, 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 I do want to just get this out of the way. I have a story that I want to do to go first because we have a guest on the show to talk about stuff that you and I might not know. Well, I shouldn't say that. To reinforce how correct we are. That's really what it is. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Brian Shar from Cross Pond Law. Brian, welcome back to the show, man.
Well, thank you very much for having me. This will be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
am I the depth in the ears up in depth?
You're the in.
I'll take that.
Yeah. No, I wanted to get you on, Brian, because you and I have talked over the years about trademark law and patent law, and you helped us out with the Covier's patent filing. And more importantly, you did a show about Disney's patents with us. I think it was a few years ago now. It was like 3 or 4, maybe.
Yeah, that had to be 6 or 7.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it was a while ago.
That's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
Go look in the archives, people. You'll enjoy it. It's a good show.
Yeah, there you go. And I wanted to get you on and get your perspective, especially because last time you and I spoke was specifically about my brand new shirt with Oswald on it. And I'm wearing it right now, by the way, and you can go to the Etsy store and check it out. It's a Tro shirt. It's awesome. It looks great. And you were telling me about the subtleties in excuse me, I'm trying to turn my ad blocker off here for some reason. You were telling me about the subtleties of like trademark law and filings and stuff like that. And what really triggered me to reach out to you again was this article. It's been around. Of course, Inside the Magic and Disney Dining, because they're the same company, were like, Mickey Mouse is being retired, and the Disney fans are up in arms. Everyone is devastated, I believe is one of the words used. Devastated by the retirement of Mickey Mouse. And I'm like, there's obviously not. So anyway, I got on, and Mickey Mouse's impending copyright explanation explains, this is again from Screen Rant. Basically, I don't know, Char, help me out. What's happening here? Are we never going to see Mickey Mouse again? Is he going into free use territory, fair use territory, where anybody can just, Purina can start using him as a mascot or something like that? What's going on with this?
No, that's a good question. And it's without getting too deep in the weeds, Steamboat Willie's going to go into the public domain in 2024. Right? So there's the original short with Steamboat Willie. It's because the people hear the words public domain, they start to wonder that whether they can just use that Mickey Mouse for anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's important to kind of back up and think about copyright and trademark. So copyright is a copyright. Essentially, it's a right to make a copy of something. That's oversimplifying, but that's the public domain aspect of what's going to happen. The term of that copyright for Steamboat Willie, I mean, is there that much demand for people to watch Steamboat Willie? I think I've watched it once. Or I don't know. There's a lot of pent-up demand for everyone to start making copies of this and putting it on YouTube or selling it in the flea market or whatever. But that's what's going to happen.
Why in the
Steamboat
flea
Willie
market?
Will be something. Yeah.
I just picturing someone selling bootleg copies of Steamboat Willie out of the trunk of their car at the flea market.
Hey, if you ever go to the flea market,
you'd be
shocked at how many bootleg DVDs are getting sold.
That's probably true.
You say no one would want to use that and sell it, but I'm sitting here looking at a guy in a Oswald rabbit shirt. So there clearly is some demand for this.
Well, that brings up the trademark aspect of this whole thing. So Steamboat Willie is trademarked by Disney. So that image, the look of Mickey Mouse in that cartoon, there's a reason why they started putting that at the beginning of some of the Disney animation, that Steamboat Willie little animation. It's to keep Steamboat Willie in the public eye, to make sure it's used as a trademark to identify goods. And the trademark aspect of Steamboat Willie is whether someone is going to try to use that image or that motion, the moving image of Steamboat Willie to identify goods, right? So the fact that I can go out and make a copy of Steamboat Willie when it enters the public domain doesn't mean that I can, slap that picture on a bag of dog food, like Jason was saying, and suddenly start calling it Steamboat Willie dog food, because that's a trademark infringement. That's confusing the public about what's the source of the goods that Steamboat Willie himself is on. Pretty much everyone these days, I'm a huge fan of Star Trek, and every character, every starship is trademarked by Paramount.
Wow.
They do not want to let any of that stuff get out. They don't want to lose control of any of those characters. That's the tent pole for that whole studio. Similarly, Mickey Mouse is the tent pole for Walt Disney. It may sound silly now, but they have Marvel, they have Star Wars, but really, they call it House of Mouse for a reason, right? It's Mickey Mouse is that foundational thing that everyone thinks of when they think of Disney. They're not going to let that go in terms of letting anyone use that for any reason.
No,
and that's a lot more broad. So go ahead.
No, I was just saying, of course not. Of course not. They would never do it. And like you said, they don't really. They use Mickey Mouse, and they sort of redesigned him recently.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And maybe that plays into that a little bit, but they're never going to get rid of it. There's no way. Come on, that's insane.
So, Your Honor, what does that
I can
mean?
make a copy.
Does that mean that you can use Mickey for non-commercial purposes? Give me a practical usage of, give me, this would be okay, this would not be okay. This would be okay, this would not be okay.
When the copyright expires, it would be okay to make a copy of Steamboat Willie, to give it to people, to sell it to people if people want to buy it, because that's in the public domain.
Okay.
You can't. Now, in terms of, we talked about slapping an image of Steamboat Willie on some dog food, that would be prohibited. There are gray areas, right? There's the whole issue of fair use. There's the issue of whether or not, Steamboat Willie would function as a trademark. Let's say you're making a movie that was totally unrelated to anything that Disney does. I can't just think of something. If you put a character in there of Steamboat Willie, that may or may not be trademark infringement, depending on how long he's in there. Are you promoting the movie based on the fact that Steamboat Willie is a character in your movie? There's a lot of factors that go into that. And I suspect that Disney is going to be very aggressive in policing its trademark when Steamboat Willie enters the public domain.
Because people don't fully understand what this means, what fair use means, or what
Exactly.
Okay. And so they're
exactly. I think that they'll have people that will assume they'll read a story in the news about Steamboat Willie in public domain.
Yeah.
And then they'll decide they can just use that character for anything. And I think the close cases, Disney might not be as aggressive with, but I think they'll be pretty aggressive in the beginning, because this is the first drop of the waterfall, right? Eventually, everything is going to go in the public domain. And there's Steamboat Willie is 100 years old, 85 years old. It's pretty old. But there's a bunch of things that are going to be following in its footsteps in the next 15, 20, 30 years. And I think if I were Disney's legal department, I would want to be fairly aggressive in policing use of characters that have maybe become in the public domain, but are still the company's trademarks. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think. How would you do that? Just like scouring Etsy and sending cease and desists?
I wouldn't even. Etsy is kind of small potatoes for that.
Yeah.
I think what you want to look out for are the people. There was that movie. Remember, Winnie the Pooh fell into the public domain like last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Not the cartoon depiction of Winnie the Pooh that's in the Disney movies, but the original stories, right? So somebody made some horrible horror movie. I haven't watched that. I'd like to see it at some point. And Winnie the Pooh is like a slasher. It's like a slasher film with Winnie the Pooh as the killer.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it one day.
They made it for like $3 and it made like $5 million. Okay. You have to be really careful with those things, because people might think, Winnie the Pooh's in the public domain. I can just do whatever I want with the character as it's presented by Walt Disney. Right? But Disney has the rights, has trademarks, has copyrights to that particular character. I think I probably confused things more by talking about Winnie the Pooh. Let's not talk about Winnie the Pooh.
Well, it's fine. So what can people do? So if it's in the public domain, what does that actually mean in reference to Steamboat Willie? Like you said, you can make a copy of the movie, but can you make any merch with it? Are people just going to, put on cans of soup?
Yeah, I think you can probably make derivative works. Like I said, you can make a copy of it, sell a copy, give away a copy. probably derivative works. Let's say you wanted to sample something and put it in, I don't know, a song or whatever. Then you're into the territory of, how much sampling is allowable. You definitely can't put it on some merchandise and sell it with that logo, because there's that likelihood of confusion that you're going to confuse, that the consumers of that product might think it comes from Disney. That's the function of trademark, is to identify the source of goods, so that as a consumer, you know the source of the goods. Like, you don't want to have, if someone's going to sell some shoddy goods with a Steamboat Willie character slapped on it, that reflects badly on Disney. And it also, by confusing consumers, they get ripped off by someone that's just trying to make a quick buck using someone else's logo.
Right. I can hear you. I'm right here. I'm just kidding. Yeah, well, and then in contrast, my Oswald thing is what do you say, derivative? It's changed enough where it's not really the thing.
Yes.
All right. See,
yeah, exactly.
I'm fine.
Exactly. And gets into some detail. I don't want to get that deep into the weeds.
No, neither do I.
But essentially, as long as you're doing something that is derivative of something, a character in the public domain, you're not trying to sell goods where you're falsely implying the source is Disney. That's kind of the territory where you're going to be okay.
Awesome. I'm all right, Jeremy.
I'm oversimplifying, because we could talk about this for hours.
Yeah,
and I could bore you to tears about all the details, and I really would prefer not to bore the listeners and you to tears.
Yeah, we're already on the edge of that anyway, so Brian, so don't worry about it.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. I just wanted to get you on and sort of clarify that a little bit to, put all these articles to rest. So anybody sees these come up in their Google News feed or whatever, everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Mickey Mouse isn't going away.
Yeah, the one weird trick to figuring out what's going to happen with Steamboat Willie is just to call me.
Yeah, see, there you go. Brian, if anybody has any questions on patent attorney or patent law, or want to file a patent or anything like that, how do they reach out to you?
You can go to my website at crosspondlaw.com, or send me an email at Schar, SCHAR, at crosspondlaw.com.
All right, perfect. Anybody wanted to patent something? Email Brian. He's a good dude. He'll work for free. He works for free. He doesn't charge a single thing.
Well, I
He's
appreciate
a trust
the
fund.
first part of that statement, but the free part, maybe not so much.
He's a trust fund baby, and he's just a philanthropist extraordinaire.
Trust me, have a fun. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Shar. Thanks, man. We'll let you go.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, later. There we go. The great Brian Shar, everybody.
Brian Shar, always with the interesting information. I like to listen to him.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I have a weird thing where I like to hear attorneys talk.
Huh. Okay. What? Tell me more. Why is this?
Like when you hear, when they talk about precedent and just the way I love the way attorneys talk about things and how things work their way through the courts and get adjudicated. Like, I love listening to that. I don't know why. I like people with like a solid knowledge of the law.
Procedural.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah. Huh. That's crazy, man. Anyway, thanks to Brian Shar for joining us today on the show. I appreciate him taking his lawyer time. His billable hours, I'm sure, will be in my inbox soon. Jeremy, I know it was a weird way to start the show, but I thought it was pretty fun.
I remember Brian Shar's last show. I think he was right. I think it was 6 or 7 years ago, and that was fascinating. And I've thought he should be back more often.
I agree. We just haven't really had him on. We just haven't really done it yet. You know what I mean? Because I wanted him to come back on to do patents. Patents of Disney, a second show, and we just never really found the time yet.
We should probably keep him on a retainer.
You know what? We probably should. If we had money for lawyer retainers, we would definitely do that. Yeah. Anyway, good to know. Good to get yet another piece of clarification that my fine thanks Oswald shirt will not get me sued into oblivion. So I appreciate that.
What will be interesting is when someone is able to take your churro logo and change it just enough to not get in trouble.
Don't give people. Well, see, so what I do have is a trademark on it's because it's the image, but it's also the description, I think, from what I understand. And so I made it a point to write a castle made of churros. So any sort of castle made of churros is theoretically off the table, off limits.
Okay.
So
all right.
Yeah, we'll see though. I've never really run into it. I ran into one gal who was like making enamel pins, and it was a churro castle, but not as defined as mine. I had to like send her a note, and she's like, "I'm just making pins." I'm like, "I know, I can't. I'm sorry." It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good at all.
You're like, now let me get back to my Supreme knockoff and my Oswald churro shirt. Bye.
Derivative artwork, Jeremy. It's changed just enough to where it's
Yeah,
fine.
she should hire Brian Shaw, that pin lady. Poor pin lady. She's in her garage banging out these pins. She's got you calling her up. Brian Shaw sending a cease and desist.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Jeremy. Do you have a story for us?
Imagineers didn't realize we'd be mad where the Hatbox Ghost will materialize. The Haunted Mansion is in the spotlight, not just the new Haunted Mansion movie that came out this weekend with a decidedly lackluster debut, which is just another in a seemingly endless parade of box office disappointments for the Walt Disney Company. Good thing they're bringing back Stags to right this ship, or at least give some advice on it. But tonight, I'm actually going to focus on the Haunted Mansion attraction at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. Disney Parks announcing last week that the attraction would finally be receiving its own version of the storied Hatbox Ghost.
Wow. Look at you guys.
Okay.
Playing big time now.
What they're saying is later this year, this is a quote from the Disney Parks blog, quote, later this year at the Walt Disney World Resort, one of our most iconic specters, almost said spectros, will set up residence in the Haunted Mansion of Liberty Square in Magic Kingdom Park. The Hatbox Ghost will appear to guests as they pass the endless hallway, welcoming himself inside from the swinging wake in the cemetery and grinning at the doom buggies, Ghostmobiles, as they set off deeper into the mansion. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview for those listening may not know exactly what the whole hubbub about the Hatbox Ghost is, but the Hatbox Ghost was designed for the attraction originally in 1969. In fact, they created two because they were doing the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland to open in 1969, but they were already under construction for Magic Kingdom Park and to open in 1971. In 1969, Haunted Mansion opens, and they install this Hatbox Ghost. It only lasted for a few months because the gag didn't work. It was supposed to be like a guy holding a hat box, and then his face would disappear, and then it would appear inside the hat box and kind of go back and forth. That's the gag. But the technology back then, it never really was very convincing. You could still see the face on like it wasn't really moving back and forth. So they took it out because the gag wasn't up to snuff. And it lived on in Disney lore, and people always wondered and talked about. And then, of course, once this whole online community thing happened and people started making podcasts and blogs and all the rest of it, it got more notoriety in the Disney community because, it starts to get talked about.
The Disney fandom did sort of manifest it into reality again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in 2015, Disney announced that it would be installed in the Disneyland version. They've perfected that technology now, 50 years later, however long it's been. And the Haunted Mansion now in Disneyland has its own Hatbox Ghost. Well, now to go along with the publicity push for the Haunted Mansion movie, Disney is installing a Hatbox Ghost in the Magic Kingdom version of the Haunted Mansion. Well, people aren't quite pleased with its placement.
Where's it going?
You see, as I read in the quote, in Disneyland's version, the Hatbox Ghost was reinstalled in his original place in the attic.
Right.
Near the end of the ride, and notably after the scene with Madame Leota's seance.
Right. It's where you just about where you turn backwards to go back down into the graveyard.
Yes.
Yeah.
As I just read from the Disney Parks blog, there's a little bit of in that quote. In the Magic Kingdom, the ghost will be placed in the endless hallway, much closer to the beginning of the ride, and notably before the seance. Why does this matter?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Why does it matter?
When you go into the Haunted Mansion, you never see a ghost until after you go through the seance. Madame Leota calls the spirits from somewhere beyond. And then the ghost host tells us, as soon as Madame Leota's done, that since the ghosts have begun to feel our sympathetic vibrations, they are now beginning to materialize and assembling for a swinging wake. Up until that point, you see shadows of their footsteps, you see objects moving, but without knowing what the source is. You don't see the actual ghosts themselves. They don't materialize. So putting him way back before the seance throws that whole buildup, the whole storyline and the seance and them beginning to materialize completely haywire.
Can I tell you something?
No sense. Yeah.
You just told me this.
Yes.
I have never noticed that. I mean, I knew it was like a build up because you get some small effects and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the graveyard, I figured the graveyard was like the apex of the thing, right? That's the finale. And it is in a way, but I never noticed that afterwards, after the seance room, that's when you see ghosts. I never really got that.
I will be honest, until someone pointed it out to me. I was like, what?
Yes.
But apparently a lot of people, and once someone said, they were like, yeah, did you ever notice you never saw ghosts until the seance? I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. You don't.
No, well, yeah, we don't see them, but everything's still moving. There's still stuff happening. So why would you assume, the candelabrum is moving around or whatever? So
Right.
that's a ghost. You don't see it. It didn't materialize, but it's still happening. So it doesn't really.
Well, the story is now they're coming out to materialize because of the seance.
I feel
Just
like I have a
because-
fresh perspective on that ride now.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that
Amanda's in the chat going, I never noticed that either. And it's my favorite ride, which is the reason why we love Amanda. And then Girthworm is saying, I'm literally screaming at my monitor right now.
Girthworm's got problems. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with the story.
Yeah, it's just a picture of Fred Durst on it. I don't know.
He's just an insane person. So that's the thing. Now, just because it went over my head
and mine,
yours
and
and
Amanda's, yeah, there you
and
go.
possibly Gert's, we don't know. He might be just losing his mind.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that clearly people notice this. I mean, people jumped on this on social media.
Wow.
So much so that there is now someone, hold on, there's an account called Theme Park Lore. And they are imploring their 700 followers to write in and register their complaints. Now, here is what their tweet says. It says, if you feel a way about this, and now this is where I think is interesting. Theme Park Lore is saying that they know people inside the Walt Disney Company are hoping fans will lend their voice to confirm their frustrations about the placement. They're saying, we encourage you to go to disneyworld.disney.co.com/help. What a terrible. Just be disneyworld.com.
Yes.
It doesn't need .disney.go. You have to stop with this. Anyhow, you can fill out feedback. And so they've said, keep it cordial. Don't be ranting. Don't be angry. And here's an example of, I'm not going to read you their whole letter, but they posted what they sent. And they're saying, it says, good morning. I'm not sure to where to direct this, but I would like to express my disappointment with the announcement that the Hatbox Ghost, blah, 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 will be placed in the endless hallway. This is unfortunate. It will disrupt the slow build of the mansion and seems to contradict the narrative within that Madame Leota's seance serves as the moment when ghosts are able to materialize. So here's the thing. It just irks me.
Yes.
That Disney doesn't seem to know. It goes over my head, but I want the company that made these stories and that is nurturing these stories and the people who are here to be good stewards of these attractions don't know or don't care. And you get something like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge or the Galactic Star Cruiser, and Imagineering spent how much time on social media bending themselves in the press, bending themselves into pretzels, kissing their own behinds about what fanatics for theming and immersion they are. Heaven forbid R2-D2 or C-3PO show up in Batuu, or the Star Wars nerds would run home crying. Or with that van when you went from the Star Cruiser to Batuu, that you had to be in a windowless van with screens, lest some Star Wars fan be reminded for a millisecond that they aren't actually in Star Wars and that they're just adults at a theme park. But then you flip over here and they're like, oh, whatever. Toss in the Hatbox Ghost, Rolly Crump, Walt Disney, who cares, whatever. Today's Imagineers, led by Barbara Booza, that ignoramus, don't get what makes these parks and attractions special. So they think, they hear it. They hear, oh, everybody wants the Hatbox Ghost. Okay, we have a movie that sucks. Throw it in there. Throw them the meat. Throw them the scraps and they'll take it. And what the reaction is we're not taking it. And it's the same thing with Figment. Oh, Figment. Oh, just shove him back into, Journey into Imagination, even though now his presence in that ride makes absolutely no sense. Throw him a popcorn bucket shaped like him because they think that they hear this buzz and that we just want it wherever we'll get it and we'll just be thankful. Well, Twitter is here to tell you that is not the case.
I'm sorry, you mean X?
X is here to tell you. DizX.
X gonna give it to us.
So that's where my frustration lies, because it's like you can't on the one hand pretend like this is so important to you and then screw over Rolly Crump's attraction.
Well, okay. So here's the thing: do you think people would you rather not have Figment brought back at all, or have him thrown, higgledy-piggledy into a ride?
Well, that ride's terrible.
Okay, well, let's say Hatbox Ghost. Would you rather not have an East Coast representation of Hatbox Ghost, or would you rather him be even in the front of the line? I don't know. You know what I mean? At least he's there somewhere.
I'd rather them not have it in world.
Okay, interesting. I don't know what I would probably agree with you.
That's yeah. I think that's just how I feel. First of all, I don't think that character makes or breaks that attraction. I also
Clearly
think it's
not.
kind of neat that it only is back in Disneyland. Even though 2 Hatbox Ghosts were constructed, it was meant to go to Disney World. It's just that they figured out it didn't work before Disney World's Haunted Mansion had a chance to open.
Yeah.
So it isn't meant to only be in Disneyland. But I don't know. I hate that false choice. Why do I have to pick between mediocrity and nothing? How about I get to pay $163 to come into this park and you do it right?
Yeah.
Walt didn't say pick mediocrity or go away. So
no, he said, "Hey, can you spare a match?"
Yeah.
I don't know why I pick on him for smoking so much. I don't know why, but I mean, clearly,
I know, like he had an addiction. Leave him alone.
That's right. Clearly, it doesn't make or break the ride. I mean, it hasn't been in there since '69, right? Since like a month after the stupid thing opened,
Right?
And it's part of the lore that people want to see. So I agree. It is nice that it's only in Disneyland. It's weird that it's going to Disney World, I guess. I don't know. It is kind of interesting what the company chooses to focus on or to fix or to implement. The changes, like nobody really, I don't know if anybody cares about it, but I think there's other stuff that fans are more up in arms about. And then nobody asked for the Hatbox Ghost, but suddenly they're like, hey, well, let's just do this now. You know what I mean? I don't think there was I never heard about any sort of active push to get the Hatbox Ghost to the East Coast. I never really heard about that, especially it died out maybe a month after we got it over here in Disneyland. So like it just seems like a weird thing to just sort of bring up when people are very vocal about, like you said, Figment being in a weird place and whatever. Also, you'd think they would learn too.
There was now you're asking me to I can't remember where I read this because I've been reading a lot about this over the last few days in anticipation of talking about this. So there's two things that I do want to point out. One is someone has published a letter from one Imagineer to another back from like 1999.
Okay. Wow.
So before even
so
even before, and they were like, "What do you know? What happened to it?" Like it was a newer Imagineer communicating with an older Imagineer who had worked on the attraction and sort of gathering information. Like, "Hey, what's the deal with this? Is this something that we could bring back?" Like there was some conversations around it. But also, and now this is where you have to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I don't remember word for word what I read, but I believe that Disney said initially that this was coming back to Disney World and then tabled it, and then now it's happening again. So I think it was meant to happen near the time that it went back to Disneyland. What I read was that they actually had trouble, and I guess the way our attic scene is configured, it wouldn't have fit anymore. And so they had technical trouble even just getting it in there into the right place. So they said, okay, throw it out. Now they've said, let's do it because we've got the movie,
right? Throw
it in where we can make it work.
Well, and that's what I just assumed as well, where it's not that they just put it in because they don't care, but it's the only place that they could for logistical reasons, I'm guessing. Like giving them grace, the benefit of the doubt of like, this is probably the only place they can make it actually work. But I do think that with all the money that Disney has, you could make it literally work anywhere. You could put it on the friggin' roof of the castle if you wanted to. You can make it work. You just don't want to spend the money in the budget to do it.
Well, there's this guy on Twitter, go away green.
Oh yeah.
How Bowers? Yeah, he has photoshopped the Hatbox Ghost. He's like, why not just put it in? And he's got it in Frozen Ever After. He's got it in the Three Caballeros. He's got it all over anywhere Walt Disney World where it doesn't belong. But he's like, why not just do it? Just put it where it doesn't even belong. Go ahead. I'm like, and so I'm kind of loving every few hours you see another How Bowers.
Oh man, I'm not on I follow him on the EarzUp Twitter X. And I haven't been on there forever. But yeah, we had him on early in our career because he was talking with the Bay Lake Society.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He's a nice guy.
I bet. Yeah, he seems like a good dude. Well, I mean, that's the Hatbox Ghost. It's coming back, and whether you like it or not, wherever you like it or not.
That's right.
I love that. Well, thanks for keeping us abreast of that, Jeremy. Let's take a break.
Okay.
Come back, do another story, and say sayonara, huh? Hang on, everyone. It's Ears Up. We'll be right back.
Back to the newsroom on In Depth.
All right. Thanks for hanging around, everybody. Jeremy, I don't know if you've heard this, but apparently Disneyland is going to be a little bit more like Disney World is starting September, I don't know, sometime in September. Because there have been newly announced plans to expand alcohol sales to 3 more Disneyland restaurants. Now, presumably, Walt had said, well, there's never going to be any alcohol in Disneyland, blah, 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 blah. And then DCA opened, and Disney's like, well, let's load this place up with beer and wine as much as we can and make some more money, right? Then when Oga's Cantina dropped in Star Wars Land, they announced that they're having drinks, and people were livid. There were so many people going, Walt would never have wanted this. You know what I mean? And people always, I love it when people assume what Walt would want or do. Like his viewpoint would never have changed since the mid 60s. You know, the thing of he evolved all over that's what people do. We change our mind. And, suddenly it's like, nope, the moment you die, your brain waves you never change. Your ideas would never have moved. You're split off into the, different, unlimited parallel universes would never be any different. This is exactly what Walt would never have wanted, which I think is weird. But apparently all of those comments are back now.
It takes more energy to stretch to say, at least we know at one point in time that this is what he wanted, so we can follow that.
Sure.
But you're having to make an argument that he might have changed his mind. Whereas it's like, we don't know that he ever did, that he wouldn't have wanted that. So It's like, if we have him on the record saying something, let's just go with that.
Sure. But at some point, that thinking gets you in trouble because then you can never move, you can never progress anywhere. And it's not like the company's doing that with Walt's legacy or his ideas anyways. They change it all the friggin' time.
Well, and they use it to advance whatever they want.
Right. So at that point, like all of his quotes, all of his little inspirational quotes don't mean anything because you can't just pick and choose inspirational quotes from someone and say that, oh, this is what this man wanted. You know what I mean? Who knows, man? I think as a drinker and a smoker, he would go, 10 years, you'd be like, okay, I think the adults, this is becoming a place with a lot of adults as well and not necessarily just families. Maybe 15, 20 years later, let's give him something. Give him a beer.
I think he probably would have realized that smoking killed him, and I don't think that that's necessarily true at all.
All right, well, whatever.
It's all conjecture.
Of course it is.
But I do think when you have what he said, you should try to stick to it as much as you can.
I mean, with something as random as of what to serve in a thing, I think it's a little short-sighted to put yourself in a box based on the idea of a guy who hasn't been around in 50 years or whatever. And I don't know. I guess it's almost. I look at it sort of maybe a disservice to Walt to assume he would never have changed his mind. I just think saying what Walt would have done is sort of irrelevant now because there was no internet. There was no social media. There weren't, drinking wasn't so considered more of a gastrointestinal journey like it is now. People are drinking for flavor, but back then, you're drinking whiskey, which tastes weird, or you're drinking American light lager, which has no flavor. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think he would have evolved the way the American public has evolved with drinking. He would have kept up with the times. In fact, he probably would have been so far ahead of the time. He probably would have had the first gastro pub in Disneyland. You never know. That's what I mean. You never know, so why even bring it up? It doesn't matter to me, right?
Well, the only thing that I can say to that is it's not like he was choosing flavors for the park. He wasn't saying, I don't want you to serve steak because I don't like steak. He wanted to preserve a clean-cut, family-friendly atmosphere where you didn't have drunks running around. And manifestly, that has happened. Look at Epcot. Look at Hollywood Studios. Fights are breaking out. People are getting kicked out drunk. What he was trying to avoid by keeping alcohol out of his parks has happened where the alcohol has come in. So I don't think that I actually think that history has played out that it would prove him right and he wouldn't have flexed.
I don't know. Okay, well, that's good. I appreciate your opinion on that. And I was wrong once, too. You're welcome. Walt Disney is rolling in his grave, read one post on Twitter. Alcohol sales have long been banned at the park, opened in 1955, outside of course, Club 33. Walt Disney once said he feared serving alcohol would bring an unwanted rowdy element to his park.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I mean, you could argue that people are just rowdy anyways. Anyway, whatever.
Yes, but what you're missing, Jason, is that this wasn't just about alcohol.
Right.
He felt that if you keep the parks clean, the guests will keep the parks clean. It was all of the things that he did. He made it beautiful. He didn't let the light bulbs go out. He picked up the trash, because if there's already trash on the ground, the guests will throw another one. If there's drinking and there's already it's all about creating an atmosphere where you don't want to act like a complete a-hole.
I understand.
And so I'm just saying that you're making it like he just didn't like beer or something.
No,
whereas
that's not what I mean.
I'm saying he was building through all of these elements a place that influenced people's behavior. And if you go back to even how he constructed Disneyland, Walt believed that architecture could influence how people behaved. It's part of the whole philosophy behind Epcot. So the atmosphere was part of what that was doing. He wasn't just like, I don't like drinks in the park.
I'm not saying that that's what first of all, that's
exactly
how Walt sounded, I think. That's a good Walt impression. I don't like drinks in the park. I'm saying that as the crowd evolved, as his park evolved, as the demand for these things came about, I think Walt would have acquiesced. I think Walt would have said, okay, maybe it's not a big deal, or hey, let's try it. I don't think he would have just still been like, no, we're not doing this for literally no reason, just because he thought a thing would happen. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that people, especially the company and fans, tend to put Walt's ideas just in stone, and that's it, and not leave room for the man to change his mind. That's all. So once you do that, all these other weird quotes don't matter anymore. It doesn't matter what Walt would have done. It's that same quote that gets brought out all the time. It doesn't matter. Who cares? The parks are so different than what he wanted anyways. Who's to say what he would have wanted? We don't know. We know what he wanted back then, but as things evolve and move and change and shift, he might have changed his mind. You don't know that. So it doesn't matter. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Anyway, on Wednesday, July 26th, the park announced upcoming menu changes, including beer, wine, and cocktails at Cafe Orleans, Riverbell Terrace, and Carnation Cafe. It's interesting. It's just that sort of side of the park. Carnation Cafe is right off of Main Street right there, and then everything else is in New Orleans Square. Find that weird? I guess not. I mean, I don't know. I guess they're sharing the kitchen with Club 33, or I think those restaurants sort of share the same kitchen anyway, so I wonder if the booze and everything is just sort of like, I don't know. The new menus won't be available until September 12th, according to the blog, and yeah, I don't know. That's it, basically. Oh, here we go. Another supporter of the change suggested that Walt Disney's concerns about alcohol sales have long since been disproven, Jeremy. Quote, at this point, Disneyland has long proven that it's lived up to the expectation. So introducing alcohol won't hurt its reputation at all, said someone on Twitter. But others aren't so sure. This will further...
Well, its reputation isn't what it was.
No.
Its reputation has been sullied and tarnished over the last... I mean, Walt hasn't been around since 1967. So... Right. By the way, I'm in favor of alcohol in the park.
Sure, of course.
I'm just making the case, and I do believe that Walt wouldn't want it, but I'm going along with it because I like to drink.
Yeah, I know. And he's leaving. Jeremy left. He got up and he left. Quote, this will further diminish the family focus that Disney used to have. Whatever. Walt didn't want alcohol in Disneyland, read a Twitter post. It's not his park anymore. I guess we can only honor him to a point because money in today's world is much more important. Yeah, I don't know, man, whatever. So there you go. I question the placement at Carnation Cafe, though. I feel like it's just going to sort of be a bottleneck on Main Street. I don't know. I feel like if you're going to be drinking in the park, go deeper into the park first.
Do you think that Walt was like more in favor of like paying cast members better?
Absolutely, he was.
So
he was also.
Do you think we should go back to that, or do you think we should like evolve? Maybe he would have evolved, not want to pay them.
Maybe he would have.
Okay.
I don't know. But I think evolving with the times is a very different argument than you're bringing up. Evolving with the times would be paying cast members more earlier than the parks even have. So I think that's an argument for that. I think Walt was very progressive. I think he saw things on the horizon that nobody else did. One would be America's thirst to get absolutely blitzed and forget half of their vacation. Anyway, that's it. That's all I want to talk about. Just there's going to be beer, wine, and cocktails now at 3 places in Disneyland besides Oga's Cantina. So you don't have to make a resi for it. I'm not so sure about it. I put it on Discord a couple days ago, and I was like, this might be a little too much for Disneyland to take because it's a very tight, controlled area. You have 3 places on one side of the park. The park's going to just list to the left a little bit because of how many people are going to be waiting in line for this. And you're going to see sort of the weird behaviors at DCA spill over into Disneyland. But I was drummed out of the Discord server because people were like, that will never happen. What do you think?
I don't know. I can't. The whole place is a bottleneck. It doesn't matter what you sell.
Yeah.
There's no room in that park.
That's true. That's why I don't understand. Like you're putting something that a lot of people want on a shop on Main Street. It's just going to come. I don't know. It's not built for a line that this is going to create for 6 months. But we'll see. I don't know. Interested. All right, Jared, what do you got?
Well, while Disneyland is now serving drinks, this new Magic Kingdom attraction literally stinks.
Are they building an attraction for this show?
Disney has announced a new family-friendly search and sniff adventure coming to Storybook Circus in the Magic Kingdom.
What is it? COVID, the experience?
You have to write that something coming to Storybook Circus in the Magic Kingdom is family-friendly.
Yeah, that's true. An adults-only themed
yeah, like what am I
Storybook.
smelling? Jock straps? It makes no sense. But that's how they described it in the tweet. A new family-friendly search and sniff adventure.
Their marketing is so wacky. It's so bizarre. Yeah, that company has problems, man.
It's definitely weird, but imagine being the marketing person in charge of promoting this search and sniff adventure. The new experience seems to be inspired by pink elephants on parade sequence from the film Dumbo. Cast members will be providing guests with a Smellephants on Parade map and sticker sheet. Those with assistants in training can then explore Storybook Circus and find Smellephant statues and mark down their unique scents.
I think I'm gonna go. I think we're done. No, what are you talking about? The elephants have different scents. They have smells. Are they?
There's gonna be statues throughout. They're gonna have different smells.
Of what?
I don't know.
Presumably it's from the remake of the movie, and did those elephants have different smells? There's only one smell I can think of an elephant, and it's not anything I want to be inhaling over and over again.
I don't know. It could be cupcakes. Who knows? We don't have enough details on this. This is
what
Disney
would Walt have done? What smells would Walt have given?
He would have shot whoever came up with this idea.
We definitely would have, man.
Come on, guys. We paid $163 to get in here. Now let's go get those sheets and the map and the stickers and walk around and smell stuff.
Because it's 1989 at the Scholastic Book Fair again, and you have a quarter to get a sheet of smelly stickers.
I mean, the average 14-year-old camp counselor can come up with a more exciting activity. What are they doing? And then to market it, if you want to do this, do it, but you should shut up about it and don't tell anyone. Like, just happen to have this.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. They won't shut up about a water walkthrough inspired by Moana that's destroyed the center of Epcot. And now the big new thing is a walkthrough Storybook Circus smelling objects with stickers. So, but the problem doesn't just lie in the utter vacuum of creativity oozing from the halls of Imagineering. Disney's corporate partnership with Scentsy, which is like they're partnering with them with this, Scentsy sponsoring this, and they have a multi-year contract with Scentsy, is also raising some eyebrows and drawing its fair share of criticisms. The Twitter account @SavedTheMagic posted, "There was a time when Disney would associate itself with only top corporations, GE, Ford, Kodak, General Motors. Now they're doing business with a multi-level marketing company that has an entry on ScamWatch."
Really?
It is on ScamWatch.
How do you spell that?
Scentsy?
Yeah.
SCENTSY.
Ah, okay.
And so it does seem that Scentsy doesn't maybe have the best reputation out there. It is a multi-level marketing thing, where when your friends get on this, like I had all these friends on Facebook who were like trying to get me to do shakes. And it's only because like if I did the shakes, then like they would get money, but then I would have to sell shakes to people.
I had a friend Still have a friend, a good dude in Canada, who was doing this on like sort of like the wholesale side, where he's like, you can wholesale all this stuff. Trust me. Like he really tried very hard to rope me into it. I'm like, John, I don't think I can do this, man. Like it seems weird because you have to get people on board and then you're their boss. It's definitely one of those send $1 in cash to 5 people on this list. Put your name on the list for them to send to, and you'll get $5 back, and then they will put, and then you'll get 5. It's just you'll just get constant money. It's the same thing. Yeah, you go online, Google Sensi, and it's literally join for $99. Currently, we are looking for new consultants in all areas. This does seem very, very shady. I mean,
in 2012, they were named in a class action lawsuit claiming that they are a pyramid scheme, but the lawsuit was eventually dismissed. However, Sensi did settle and paid them the plaintiffs $1.3 million.
Wow.
They've also received criticism for heavily recruiting amongst the community of American military spouses, because those are families who frequently require moves and they often have difficulty finding consistent employment. And it seems Sensi has been targeting that particular group. But ScamWatch claims that the median annual income for a Sensi consultant is $166, with only 6% of their affiliates earning above $10,000 a year.
For
So
bugging your friends and family on social media.
being annoying.
I mean,
and so Disney saw this and was like, let's get together and make a scratch. So it's like, let's get you with your dubious reputation. And can you bring a dubious attraction that is equally of ill repute to our horrible theme park? And we're going to market it.
I'm on their website right now. They have, so it's basically those like a wax, there's also kinds of stuff, candles and stuff, but like a warming tray with like a wax scent kind of thing.
Yes.
So the warming tray looks cool. It's like the gates of the Haunted Mansion. Of course, they got the 3 hitchhiking ghosts there, and it looks, cheesy, but $65. You're like, oh my God. And then they have the scent bar. It's called the Haunted Mansion 3 Thumbs Up. Cool. That's great naming. And I guess it's, I wonder if it's for the holiday, because it says allspice, haunting pumpkin, and ghostly cinnamon, all summoning the spirit of sparkling ginger. So it doesn't really, I don't know. It doesn't really, whatever. Who cares? Choose a consultant. Yeah, I wonder how much they're paying for that. I wonder if that's Disney just going, I don't know, man, give me $5 million and you can do this. Seems weird.
Yeah, I don't know the terms of that contract, but I just think it's so weird that they're offering this. I mean, someone tweeted this. It was me. That this is a theme park that used to have a fabulous nighttime electrical parades with a symphonic orchestration called Spectro Magic, and now they have a scratch and sniff through a fake circus. Like, what is going on at this company? Why are we still going?
It seems very much a whatever we can do for the lowest cost. This is a Knott's Berry Farm thing. This would go over great at Knott's Berry Farm. I mean, hell, it'll probably go over great at Disneyland or Disney World because of all the, kids and stuff. But like, it does seem very schmucky.
It's a total schmuck move. And I just think like these are their offerings. And then you have Bob Iger in the press saying that the reason why no one's going anymore is because of the humidity, as though that's new.
Like, is he saying that? Oh my goodness.
You didn't see that interview on CNBC where he blamed the humidity?
No, I didn't. Oh God.
He's like, well, it's been really humid in Florida. So it's like, well, yeah, but people book their vacations to Disney World. They don't book it and be like, let's not go anymore. Let's cancel the flight. I heard it's humid down there. First of all, it's always humid in July. And even if it's a bit more humid than usual, you don't cancel your flight to Disney World because of it. You dope.
Can you imagine calling if you have trip insurance? Look, I'm not going to go. But apparently it's pretty humid and I don't really like sweating. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for giving me all my money back. Bye.
So that's what he said. Which was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then at the same time, they're promoting the scratch. And it's like, I think we've narrowed in on the problem here, guys.
Oh man.
So he needs some help. That's why he's got stags in there.
I can't wait for 5 years for the Avon Pavilion to open.
Mary Kay.
That it? You done with that?
That's my story. Right. It's over. It's enough.
Jeremy, summer is here, along with humidity, apparently, only in Florida, though. And our friends at first of all, it's been humid as all get out in California. In LA, too. But like up here, like it's humid in my office right now. It's humid. People are still living their lives, Bob. It's not like we're not on the surface of friggin' Venus. And you're like, I don't know, I can't really risk going out right now because we might get raided if we leave this non-humid environment. There's humid people only outside right now. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, also apparently down the road at Universal, it's less humid because their wait times aren't seeing the drop. So the humidity must just be staying on this side of I-4. I don't know.
Our friends at the 21st Amendment are celebrating the return of the warmer days with their popular and everyone's favorite seasonal beer, Hell or High Watermelon Wheat. The brewers at the 21st Amendment brew an American wheat beer with real watermelon juice, creating a refreshing, fruity, and quenching beer, or what they affectionately call summer in a can. Hell or High Watermelon Wheat will make any weekend barbecue or beach time activity that much better. When visiting the California Bay Area and its humidity, be sure and stop in at the 21st Amendment San Francisco Brew Pub at 563 2nd Street, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, and also be sure and visit their brewery tap room just across the bay in San Leandro with an outdoor beer garden. All right, Jeremy, I got one more story to wrap it up here. Oh. And it involves some sad news. Okay, we don't normally like reporting sad news on this, but this is like such a breaking story, and it's a heartbreaking one and a relatively, new story. Paul Rubens, better known as one Mr. Pee Wee Herman, passed away Sunday evening from a very private battle with cancer. Pee Wee's Playhouse saw several guest appearances over the years, mostly from folks who would later go on to become household names such as Natasha Lyonne, Lawrence Fishburne, Jimmy Smits, Sandra Bernhardt, and Phil Hartman. Quote, please. Okay, so this is Pee Wee's he wrote like a note to his fans be posted on social, I guess. And it's sad. I don't know. He says, please accept my apology for not going public with what I've been facing the last 6 years. This man has been battling cancer for 6 years. I have always felt a huge amount of love and respect for my friends, fans, and supporters. I have loved you all so much and enjoyed making art for you. Rubens created Pee Wee when he was part of the Los Angeles improv group The Groundlings in the late 1970s. Phil Hartman helped Rubens develop the character, and after a failed audition for Saturday Night Live, Paul was apparently so upset at that rejection that he decided to borrow money and start his own show in Los Angeles using the character he had been developing during the last few years. The live Pee Wee Herman show debuted at Los Angeles Theater in 1981 and was a success with both kids during matinee shows and adults at the midnight showings. After touring the country with a stage show, Rubens wrote the cult classic Pee Wee's Big Adventure, directed by Tim Burton. In 1986, Pee Wee moved to TV, where influenced by vintage kids shows like Captain Kangaroo, which I'm old enough to remember Captain Kangaroo. I don't know if you ever watched that, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'd seen it.
Yeah, all right, great. The artistically groundbreaking Pee Wee's Playhouse won several Emmys and featured colorful postmodernist set design and music from new wave icons like Mark Mothersbaugh, famously of Devo, Cyndi Lauper, who sung the theme song to Pee Wee's Playhouse. I did not know this. I told Taryn that. She goes, yeah, I know. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know. That was her singing the song. I had no idea. Along with guest stars, I just already sort of said that. His television series, Pee Wee's Playhouse, ran for 5 seasons, earned 22 Emmys, and attracted not only children but adults to Saturday morning TV. But Jeremy, even if you weren't a normal child who watched Pee Wee's Playhouse growing up and somehow CPS was not alerted to this fact and rescued you, you might be more familiar with his role as the plucky pilot droid RX-24 from Star Tours, as well as that droid's new job as DJ Rex in Oga's Cantina. Rubens had already decided to end Pee Wee's Playhouse when his image as a beloved childhood hero was tarnished in 1991 after he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater in Sarasota, Florida, which I think is why you moved to Florida, right? Because they have the best adult theaters.
I heard. I forgot that he got arrested for this.
Yeah, and there's like other stuff that he got busted for, but I'm not going to talk about. At the center of a national sex scandal, Rubens backed away from Pee Wee and began doing press as himself. Because apparently before that, he was just doing press as Pee Wee. He was trying to make people think Pee Wee was just a real person, right?
That's peculiar.
Well, it got him a movie deal, I guess. In the aftermath of his arrest, he did receive support from his fans and other celebrities and appeared at the 1991 MTV Video Music Awards, receiving a standing ovation. I remember seeing this. He walked out and people were like, oh my God, this is so weird because it was such a very public. I mean, he was on Letterman all the time. He was super famous dude in the 80s, right? And he walks out and he goes, heard any good jokes lately? And everyone just lost it. The roof blew off the place. It was hilarious. It was such a good way to address this stupid thing of like exposing himself in public. It's like, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, he had roles in Tim Burton's 1992 movie Batman Returns, Buffy the Vampire Slayer film, and a guest star run on the TV series Murphy Brown.
Closest on Murphy Brown?
He was on Murphy Brown, yeah.
As what?
I don't know. I can show you.
I love Murphy Brown.
I know. We've Murphy Brown, Andrew J. Lansing III. He was on 6 episodes. Yeah. But close to my heart, he was the voice of Locke in The Nightmare Before Christmas movie and the video games and all that kind of stuff. So, and here's the thing. I love that movie so much. Night Before Christmas. Love it. I have no idea which one Locke and which one is Shock. Barrel's like the big fat kid, but I have no idea the other two. And I don't ever want to know. I like keeping it weird. I don't know why. He also appeared.
I'll never know because I can't stay awake through that terrible.
I don't know how. God, the music is so good. He also appeared in the 1999 comedy film Mystery Men and Johnny Depp's Blow. I saw him. He was in. He played like a cokehead in a Cheech and Chong. I think it was Cheech and Chong Nice Dreams. And I don't know. It's great. He's just good. He's a good dude. Several children's personas cite Pee Wee Herman as an inspiration, including Blue's Clues' Steve Burns and SpongeBob SquarePants' Steven Hellenberg. So anyway, R.I.P. to a classic entertainer, 6 years of battling cancer privately and didn't say anything. And just the outpouring of support for this guy is just incredible. I don't know.
Well, he was sort of indirectly in 2 movies that I love. One, in the movie Troop Beverly Hills starring Shelley Long and Craig T. Nelson, when the girls are having their overnight, when they wake up the next morning at the Beverly Hills Hotel, they're all watching Pee Wee Herman on Saturday morning TV. And 2, in Overboard, the little kid liked imitating Pee Wee Herman, and Goldie Hawn asked if he was a falsetto child. One of my favorite lines. So those are 2 movies. That's my connection with Pee Wee Herman.
Oh man, yeah, he's he's been working solidly since 1978. And just looking up his IMDb, it's a lot of like bit parts and stuff, because after his arrest, I guess it wasn't really didn't really do much. But he was in Moonwalker, Michael Jackson thing. He was on Sesame Street. Dunstan Checks In, Matilda. He was on Doctor Dolittle movie. He was Elton John music video. He was on Reno 911. Tom Goes to the Mayor. 30 Rock. Pushing Daisies. Adventure Time. The Smurfs. He's just working, man. Yeah. Anyway, it sucks. It makes me sad because we've been watching Pee Wee's Playhouse with Alice recently, and she loves it, and it's great. And even like the new Pee Wee stuff was really good. And yeah, I don't know. Disappointing, man. Everyone goes, but I think he was 70, 60. 60?
He seemed to be on the younger side. No, he was born in 52, I think. So he was 70.
70. Jeez Louise, man. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. That's my sad story, man.
Okay.
Yeah. I would ask you if you've ever seen Pee Wee's Playhouse, but I know the answer already.
The show on Saturday mornings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. You weren't a big Pee Wee fan, I can take it. You're not crying like I am.
No, I'm not crying. I found it annoying.
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, yeah, if you watch too much of it, yeah, for sure. But it's for kids. What are you going to do? All right, Jeremy, we're out of here, huh?
All right. Time for bed.
Yep, time for bed. Thanks a lot, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/EarzUp and become a Patreon supporter for, little as $5 a month if you want. That'd be great. We also have new merch on our Etsy page, which is etsy.com/shop/EarzUp. I think I changed it. I got the Oswald shirt that I'm wearing right now, and then I made it into a mug also. We did our first little coffee mug, so check that out too. And there's more merch coming because I don't have any jobs anymore. So I'm basically just sitting home making merch. So there you are. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot. We'll see you.